Okay, in previous lecture we studied about single phase series inverter, single phase parallel inverter, single phase parallel inverter with feedback diode, single phase half bridge inverter, single phase full bridge inverter. Okay, so now today we discuss about voltage control of inverter. Okay, so in this topic we will discuss how can we control the output voltage of inverter. Okay, so learning outcomes of today's lecture is after completion of this session you will be able to understand need of voltage control, classification of different voltage control method. You are able to explain voltage control of single phase inverter. You are also able to describe series inverter control method, single PWM method, multiple method and SPWM method. These are the learning outcomes of today's lecture. The contents of today's lectures are introduction about the voltage control, need of voltage control, why voltage control is required, different methods of voltage control of inverter, series inverter control method in which we have a single PWM method, multiples method and SPWM method. These are the contents of today's lecture. Now let us discuss about the voltage control of inverter. Okay, so first of all, why the voltage control is required? Okay, or the need of voltage control. Okay? So the function of the inverter is to convert DC into AC. So whatever output we are getting, that is the AC. Okay, so now what happens when inverter operates? So when we are giving DC supply to the inverter and when we are getting the output from the inverter, at that time due to change in input, so whatever input we are giving, that is the DC. So if there is some change in the input side or input voltage or input source, then it will change the output of the inverter. Okay, so first thing is output is changed due to the change in input. So if input is variable or if there is interference in the input, the output will also change. So if we want to keep the output voltage constant, we can control the voltage of the inverter. Now next, what happens to change the frequency with change in output? Okay, suppose what happens if we want to control the speed of induction motor. Okay, so we have to change the frequency with change in output. Okay, so as the frequency changes, the output is also changes. So for that also we need the voltage control and to adjust the change in voltage of inverter itself. Okay, whatever change of voltage in the inverter itself, we have to adjust it, and for that we have to control the voltage of inverter. These are the need or these are the requirement of voltage control, that why voltage control is required. That means if we need desired output voltage and frequency of the inverter, we have to control the voltage of the inverter. Whether we have to control voltage with inverter itself or outside of the inverter. Okay, so these are the need of output voltage control. Now the different method of voltage control. Okay, so we have mainly two methods. We have a external method or external control method and internal control method. Okay, so external control method, from its name we can able to understand that what is external control and what is internal control. Okay, external control method, that means the voltage, output voltage of inverter can be controlled externally. That means outside of the inverter, not itself in the inverter. Okay, so whatever we are using any devices to control the output voltage. Okay, so this external control method is the method to control the output voltage by externally, not in the internal itself, inverter itself. Okay, whereas the internal control method, that means we are doing something in the inverter itself. Okay, so it is known as the internal control method. Okay, understood the difference between these two control method, external control method and internal control method. In external control method, we are not doing anything in the inverter itself. We are, whatever we are doing, that is the outside of the inverter, whereas in internal control method, we are doing something in the inverter itself to control the voltage. Okay, and this internal control method is further classified into two categories, that is series inverter control and PWM control. Okay, these are the two types of internal control method, series inverter control and PWM control method. And this PWM control method is further classified into single pulse PWM control, multi-pulse PWM control and sinusoidal pulse width modulation control. So these are the three classifications of PWM control. So this is the voltage control method classification. External control, mainly two methods, external control and internal control. Internal control is further classified into two, series inverter control and PWM control. PWM control is further classified into three categories, single pulse, multi-pulse and sinusoidal pulse. Okay, I already discussed that what is the external control by keeping the AC voltage controller in between inverter and load. Okay, I already discussed that is the external control method. That means we are doing something outside of the inverter, not inside of the inverter. Okay, so what we are doing in the external control method, in external control method, in between inverter and load, we are putting AC voltage controller which controls the voltage. Okay, so outside of the inverter, that's why it is known as the external control method, or by controlling the input DC voltage. So we can make external control by two things. Once we are putting AC voltage controller in between inverter and load, so we are controlling the output voltage by the AC voltage controller by using AC voltage controller. And second thing is we are controlling the input DC voltage. Okay, so we have to adjust the input DC voltage as per our requirement of the output AC voltage. Okay, so in these two manner we can control the output voltage by external control method. Whereas in internal control method, control is provided in the inverter itself. Okay, in inverter we are doing something. Okay, and from this we can control the output voltage, that is known as the internal control method. Okay, now we are talking about the internal control method. This internal control method has different classification, that is series inverter control and PWM control. We already discussed it. Now first of all we discuss about the series inverter control. Okay, is series inverter control method. Okay, so look at this figure. Okay, here assume that this is the upper transformer or transformer T1 and this is the transformer T2. Okay, transformer T1 and transformer T2. So this is the primary voltage of transformer T1. This is the secondary winding or secondary voltage. Okay, so here is the primary winding of second transformer T2 and this is the secondary winding of second transformer T2. Okay, now what happens in this here, in this series inverter control, okay, two inverters are used. Okay, here is the inverter 1 and inverter 2. Okay, and DC voltage is given to this inverter. Output of inverters are applied to the transformer. Okay, so here what happens, here is the output voltage of this inverter is given to the transformer, this transformer T1 and transformer T2. Okay, so now what happens here, the secondary winding of T1 transformer and T2 transformer both are connected in series. Okay, here is the secondary winding of T1 transformer, this is the secondary winding of T2 transformer, and both these transformers are connected, in series. Okay, so this is the secondary winding of T1, this is the secondary winding of T2. So both their secondary winding of transformers are connected in series, and load is connected across the secondary winding. So here load is connected. So this upper terminal of secondary of first transformer and the lower terminal of the secondary of the second transformer. So in between these two terminal, load is connected. Okay, now here we assume that this is the output voltage of first transformer and this is the output voltage of second transformer. Okay, here we assume that output voltage of first transformer and this is the output voltage of second transformer, and the resultant voltage of these two output voltages is the vector sum of these two. Okay, so the resultant voltage of these two, how can we find the resultant voltage of these two? By vector summation of these two voltages. Okay, so if this output voltage of first transformer is V1 or E1 and output voltage of second transformer is V2 or E2, then the resultant voltage of this V1, V2 or E1, E2 is E. Okay, this is the resultant voltage of these two. Okay, so by changing the phase angle theta, we can control the output voltage. Okay, so how can we change the output voltage? By changing the phase angle theta. Okay, so as the phase angle is changed, the resultant voltage will be changed, and resultant voltage is the output voltage. So here if we assume that theta is equal to 0, that means theta is equal to 0 means what happens? This E1, E2 or V1, V2 are in phase with each other. Okay, here this value becomes 0, this theta value becomes 0. Okay, so what happens? The E1 and E2 are in phase with each other. Okay, this theta value becomes 0, that means this E1 and E2 are in phase with each other, that means the resultant voltage is E1 plus E2. Now we assume that the angle between these two is 180. Okay, this is the angle 180. Okay, the angle between E1 and E2 or the angle between V1 and V2 are 180. Okay, so when the angle between E1 and E2 becomes 180, at that time both are out of phase with each other, so equal and opposite. Okay, value of E1 and E2 is equal and opposite to each other. At that time the resultant voltage becomes 0. So the value of E is 0. So by changing the phase angle, we can change the output voltage control. Now how can we change the phase angle? By changing the firing angle of SCR. Okay, so if we change the firing angle, the output voltage of inverter is changed, and due to it the phase angle is changed, and as the phase angle is changed, the resultant voltage is changed. So in this manner we can control the output voltage. Okay, it is known as the series inverter control because these are the two inverters and here the secondary of the transformer is connected in series with each other. Okay, now next method is the pulse width modulation control. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and presentation is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Now the another method, that is the pulse width modulation control method. Okay, so the simple pulse width modulation control is the most efficient method. This method is the most efficient method to control the output voltage of inverter. Why it is most efficient method, we will discuss later on. Okay, fixed DC voltage is given to the inverter. Okay, in pulse width modulation control method, we are giving the fixed DC voltage to the inverter. Controlled AC voltage is obtained by on off of active devices, by making on and off of active devices, or by switching the active devices, we can obtain the controlled AC voltage from the inverter. So this is the pulse width modulation control, and these pulse width modulation control methods are single pulse width modulation, multiple pulse width modulation, and sinusoidal pulse width modulation control method. So this pulse width modulation, it also known as the PWM method or PWM control. So these PWM control methods are of three types: single pulse width modulation, multiple pulse width modulation, and sinusoidal pulse width modulation. Okay, now we discuss one by one. First is the single pulse width modulation. Okay, now generally what happens, how can we generate the triggering pulse? Okay, so this triggering pulse generator is used, or we can say that by comparing the two signals, we can compare the two signals in the comparator, and whatever error is produced, that is given to triggering pulse generator, which generates the trigger pulse. Okay, so look at this block diagram here. What happens, one carrier signal is taken and one reference signal is taken. Okay, so these carrier signal and reference signals are given to the comparator. Okay, the function of the comparator is to compare the two signals and generates the error. Okay, so here we are giving carrier signal and a reference signal, these two signals to the comparator. So as the two signals are given to the comparator, this comparator compares these two signal and produces error signal. Okay, this error signal is given to the triggering pulse generator, which generates the trigger pulse. In this manner the triggering pulse is generated. Now in single pulse width modulation, what happens, only one pulse for each half cycle. The name is single pulse width modulation method. Okay, so in this single pulse width modulation, we have only one pulse for each half cycle. So in one half cycle we have one pulse, in second half cycle we have one another pulse, in third half cycle we have one another pulse. Okay, so output voltage can be changed by changing the pulse width. How can we change the output voltage? By changing the pulse width. Okay, so here the reference signal ER and triangle signal, or we can say that the carrier signal, that are these two are compared in the comparator. Okay, so the gate pulse is generated when carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal. Here this is the single pulse width modulation. Okay, so here what happens, there is only one pulse per half cycle. Okay, so here what happens, this is the carrier signal. Okay, this dark solid line represents the carrier signal, whereas this line represents the reference signal. Okay, so here what happens, the gate pulse is generated when carrier signal becomes equal to the a reference signal. So here what happens, look at this for waveforms. Okay, so here is the carrier signal, and at this point the carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal. So when this carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal, at that time the pulse is generated. Okay, so settings are made such that when carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal, at that time the pulse is generated. Okay, the pulse width can be changed from 0 to 180 by changing value of reference signal from 0 to maximum value, and change in output voltage can be made. Okay, so here what happens, at this point the carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal, so pulse is generated, and up to which point the pulse continues to generate, up to this point. Okay, so this is known as the pulse width. Okay, so this pulse is generated from this point to this point. Okay, when carrier signal becomes equal or lower than the reference signal, at that time the pulse is generated. Okay, so in this time duration from this point, or alpha 1 to alpha 2. Okay, if look at this time duration from alpha 1 to alpha 2, the pulse is generated because carrier signal is equal or lesser than the reference signal. Okay, now after this alpha 2, what happens, the carrier signal becomes greater than the reference signal, so after that the pulse is not generated. Okay, so this is the width of pulse, it is the width of pulse. Now how can we change the width of pulse? By changing the value of reference signal. If we increase the magnitude of reference signal, the width of pulse increases. If we decrease the magnitude of reference signal, so if we are decreasing the reference signal value, so this reference signal comes downward. Okay, so what happens, at this portion the pulse is generated, so the width of pulse reduces. So how can we change the width of pulse? By changing the magnitude of reference signal. Okay, frequency of output voltage depends on frequency of reference signal. Okay, so frequency of is depend, here what happens, the frequency of output voltage. Okay, so whatever output voltage is generated, that is here. Okay, this is the output voltage. Okay, so the frequency of output voltage depends on the frequency of the reference signal. Okay, and the modulation index. Okay, this modulation index is the ratio of reference signal to the carrier signal. Okay, so modulation index is, this is the carrier signal. Okay, so it is the ratio. How can we define the modulation index? Modulation index is the ratio of reference signal to the carrier signal. Okay, so this is the reference signal and this is the carrier signal. So modulation index we can find by the ratio of reference signal to the carrier signal. Now next is the multiple pulse width modulation control method. Okay, so in multiple pulse width modulation means, look at this waveform. Okay, this is the half cycle. Okay, in this half cycle we have generated more than one pulses. Okay, here are the pulses generated. So in one half cycle we have generated more than one pulses. That's why this method is known as the multiple pulse width modulation. Okay, now how can we generate the more than one pulses? So here, look at this waveform. This horizontal line represents the reference signal. Okay, now this triangular wave is the carrier wave signal. Okay, so this carrier wave signal is compared with the reference signal. Now when the pulse is generated, when the carrier signal becomes equal or lesser than the reference signal, at that time the pulse is generated. Okay, so here at this point the carrier signal is more compared to the reference signal, but at this point the carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal. So at this point the pulse is generated. Okay, and it continues up to this point, because in this time duration the carrier signal becomes equal or lesser than the reference signal. So in this time duration the pulse continues. Okay, now after this point what happens, the carrier signal becomes more compared to the reference signal. So in this time duration pulse is not generated. Now once again at this point what happens, the carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal. So in this time duration the pulse continues to generate. Okay, once again in this time duration pulse is not generated. Once again in this time duration pulse is generated as the carrier signal becomes equal or lesser than the reference signal. Okay, so now in this half cycle, okay, the time period of this carrier signal is t is equal to 1 by c. So it has more than one, or the frequency of the carrier signal is more. Okay, so what happens here, as the frequency of carrier signal is more, the more than one pulses are generated. Okay, this is the one time period, this is the second time period, and this is the third time period. Okay, so this carrier signal has more frequency, so it generates more than one pulses per half cycle. So this is the half cycle. Okay, and in this half cycle we have generated 3 pulses. Okay, but what happens in this multiple pulse width modulation, we are getting multiple pulse in each half cycle. Okay, but the width of pulse generated is same. Okay, so look at the width of this pulse. Okay, first pulse width, second pulse width, and third pulse width. Okay, so each pulses have a same width. Okay, width of each pulse is same. So in this method we have generated, or the pulses generated has same width. Okay, if we change the magnitude of reference signal, so here what happens, if we increase the reference signal, what happens, the width of pulses change, but once again the width of each pulses remains same. If we decrease the reference signal value, what happens, the each pulses width reduces and it remains same. Okay, so in these multiple pulse width modulations we are getting more than one pulse in each half cycle, but the width of pulse remains same. Okay, now next is the sinusoidal pulse width modulation. Okay, so in this we have a reference signal of sine wave. Okay, so in this sinusoidal pulse width modulation the sine wave is compared with the carrier signal. Okay, so this is the triangular wave, that is the carrier signal, and this is the sine wave, that is the reference signal, and this sine wave is compared with the carrier signal. Okay, so here what happens, Here what happens now, this sine wave starts at this point, so at this point the value is 0. Now it increases and going to the maximum value. So now at this point what happens, at this point the carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal. Okay, so at this point the pulse starts to generate. Okay, so at this point pulse starts generating, and up to this point the carrier signal becomes equal or lesser than the reference signal. Okay, so in this time duration pulse continues to generate. Okay, so this is the width of pulse. Now what happens, the magnitude of sine wave increases. Now at this point, in this time duration what happens, the carrier signal is greater than the reference signal, so no pulse is generated. Okay, now at this point the carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal. So at this point the pulse is generated and it continues up to this point. So in this time duration pulse continues to generate, but here what happens, the width of pulse is greater compared to the first pulse. Okay, so in this method the pulses we
Sir,
have generated. Yes.
sir, actually the screen is not changed.
Okay, okay. Now visible.
Yes, now it is waveform. Yes.
Now visible. Full screen.
Yes, sir.
Full screen is visible, na?
No, sir, not full screen. It is still showing the PowerPoint window.
Okay, now visible it. Okay, okay. So here what happens, at this point the carrier signal and reference signal becomes equal. So at this point the pulse is generated and it continues up to this point. So in this time duration carrier signal becomes equal or lesser than the reference signal, so pulse is generated, but the width of pulse generated is greater compared to this pulse. Okay, because the magnitude of reference signal is varying, because it is a sinusoidal waveform. Okay, so at this point it is 0, at this point the value is different, at this point the value of reference signal is different as the sine wave. Okay, so in this time duration pulse is generated, but the width is different compared to the first pulse. Now once again in this time duration pulse is not generated. Now at this point the carrier signal becomes equal to reference signal, so pulse is generated up to this point. So in this time duration pulse is generated, but the width of pulse generated becomes lesser than the second pulse. Okay, so in this figure we have generated 3 pulses, and all these 3 pulses have different width of the pulse. Okay, so in this control method we can control the output voltage more efficiently, as the width of pulse is variable. Because why it is variable, because we are comparing the carrier signal with the sinusoidal waveform. Okay, and the value of each and every point of sinusoidal waveform is not same. Okay, at this point it is 0, at this point it is maximum, once again at this point it becomes 0. So at each and every time, or at each and every point the value of reference signal is varying, so we are getting the pulses of variable width. This is the sinusoidal pulse width modulation. Now which are the advantages of pulse width modulation? Output frequency can be changed below and above the rated frequency. Wide range of speed control is obtained by changing the on and off of active devices. We can control the speed in a wide range. Single inverter can drive more than one motor. Only one inverter is required to drive more than one motor. Input power factor is also good in the pulse width modulation. Diode input gives path during the power interruption. So these are the advantages we are getting from pulse width modulation. Now the disadvantages of pulse width modulation: logic circuit for drive is complicated. If we want to design a logic circuit for drive machines, okay, it is very complicated. So this is a disadvantage when we are using the pulse width modulation technique. Operation is not simple for frequency more than 120 Hz. If we desire more frequency or higher frequency, then the operation is not simple. Operation is possible, but operation is not simple. It becomes complicated for higher frequency. So these are the advantages we are getting. Okay, so today we discuss about the voltage control of the inverter. Okay, that is the need of voltage control. Output is changed due to change in input. To change the frequency with change in output, example is speed control of induction motor. To adjust the change in voltage of inverter. Then the voltage control method classification: external control method, internal control method. In internal control method, where we have a series inverter control, PWM control, single pulse width, multiple pulse width, and sinusoidal pulse width. External control method by keeping AC voltage controller in between inverter and load by controlling input DC voltage. Internal control is provided in inverter itself. Okay. Then the series inverter control, in which the transformer is used and the secondary of the transformer is connected in series, and this series connected secondary is connected to load. So output voltage can be controlled, so, or the resultant voltage is the vector summation of the output voltage E1 E2 or V1 V2. If by changing the phase angle we can change the output voltage, and phase angle can be changed by the firing angle of the SCR. Pulse width modulation control, most efficient method. Fixed DC voltage is given to inverter, controlled AC voltage is obtained. Okay, single pulse width modulation means one pulse for each half cycle. Okay, carrier signal is compared to the reference signal, and when carrier signal becomes equal to the reference signal, at that time the pulse is generated. Okay, so in single pulse width modulation, in each half cycle only one pulse is generated, and width of pulse depends on the magnitude of carrier, magnitude of the reference signal, and the frequency of reference output voltage is also depends on the frequency of reference signal. Multiple pulse width modulation, that means we have generated more than one pulses in half cycle. Okay, so here in this waveform we have generated 3 pulses. Okay, but the width of pulses are same, not different. Okay, whereas in sinusoidal pulse width modulation technique, the sine wave is compared with the carrier signal. Okay, so sine wave has variable value at each and every point. So whatever pulses we have generated or we are getting, that is have the different width of pulse. Okay, so these are the voltage control method of a single phase inverter.